I want Spider-Man.
What? Never wake a man. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Neon Valley Movie Club thing-majiggy.
That's what we're going with for now, so just stay with us.
Just fucking roll with it. Just roll with it. That's what it is. Last week, Mitchell, you suggested that we watch Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
I did.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about this movie?
It's a holiday classic. It's another claymation, so I think there was probably 4 of these core movies, and over the next few years, you guys will get to see what those other 2 are.
Oh,
But,
shit.
yeah, this one was definitely the next one in the list where when I think of Christmas time, when I think of, holiday traditions of watching those movies with my families, this was definitely that core group. So it is pretty much the story of Santa Claus and how Santa Claus came to be.
It's an origin story. It's literally
really
an origin
is.
story.
They do a pretty good job, as we'll get into it, of explaining what the traditions are around a lot of these things. Listen, we'll get to that. But, Tyler, what were your thoughts? We always talk about our thoughts going into it. What were your thoughts?
This is a classic. This is like Rankin Bass. They have made some of the best Christmas claymations of our time. Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I think Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, The Year Without a Santa Claus.
Yep.
I think is another one. So I grew up with them. Loved them. The music is so catchy. The claymation
This one's got some bangers in it.
The claymation is incredible, right? Like, that is so much work to put into this, of making these claymations. But you had no other option.
Yeah, at the end of, I think it was A Year Without a Santa Claus, because I just recently watched that with the family. At the end of it, they kind of go into a review of the making of it, and they mention how a day's worth of shooting, an 8 to 10 hour shoot, might give you a couple of seconds of film. Just because of, and again, when you watch it, the details are pretty fluid. They do a really good job, and that requires a lot of meticulous, delicate work. And so I think the fact that we can still watch it today and say, they did a really great job with what they had at that time really speaks to the production value that was put in at that time, that it still holds up in its own way now. I'm not saying it's like a Marvel Cinematic Universe film, but I'm saying for what they did for claymation, they did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I don't think it's funny because I think that it's an incredible achievement of claymation and cinematography, and even like I was really impressed by how the camera moves. I think that's the biggest thing, because like when you imagine a claymation, you imagine like a still image and then they move the pieces. But what was interesting in this,
Gumby,
yeah. But what I found interesting is that the camera would move a lot, so which meant that they had to like move the camera half an inch, take the shot, move a camera half an inch, but make sure that everything, and that's a lot more difficult than keeping the camera still and then doing everything shot by shot. So there was like an added element of difficulty when it came to the claymation in this. But I think what happens is it kind of makes it lack in story. And I know that sounds silly because like it's a Christmas claymation that's just kind of meant to give you the Christmas spirit and make you feel good. But I almost feel like that's an excuse, right? Like it's like, what other claymations from this time period made by these people do we revere? Like none. Because these are Christmas ones. There's something very special and magical about Christmas that makes things like a little extra magical, if I could say it, because like the story in this movie sucks. Like just like as a story, it kind of sucks. Like I mean, like I want you to argue with me. I want you to tell me how you think it's a good story, because like and of course I'm being a little bit of a dick here. It's not like it's not like it's the worst thing ever, and for what, like, I think the accomplishments of making a claymation like this and the voice acting is incredible. You know what I mean? Like, the songs, amazing. But I think the story was the last thing on their list of like what's important. Like they wanted to make sure they had good animation, good music, good voice acting. But beyond that, I felt like they just wanted to fill in the gaps of like you were saying, it's a Santa Claus origin story, right? And it feels like they almost kind of like make up like, oh, that's why that happens, you know? And almost, I was feeling like vibes.
Well, what were you expecting from them? Like,
no, they didn't have to. But if that's what it's doing.
Wait, so you don't like the origin story? Because I thought you were in favor of it the way you were starting that conversation.
No, I don't like it. I don't like forced origin. It's like I know this sounds so fucking stupid. Believe me, I am so aware that telling this review in the context of a 1970s claymation film is the dumbest fucking thing in the world.
Children's movie.
It's so dumb. I get that. I think the origins feel like so silly and thrown on that it's like we almost didn't even need that. It's like just make it like a fun, cute little story. I don't know.
How was it not? Okay, so what would you have done differently to tell the origin story of Santa? Are you saying that you wouldn't have gone with an origin story? Because they already went with a Santa movie with The Year Without a Santa Claus.
And okay, well, you know what? This will clear up everything. We need to figure out when the song came out.
Oh, yeah.
1951? That's before the...
Yeah. Because this was released... Oh my god, this was released December 14th, 1970. We were a day off of its release date.
So okay, hear me out. This is what I'm saying, is that this movie is the equivalent of there was already a song that's really popular, and then they took that song and then made an origin story about that song and just kind of made up shit that made it make sense. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that like it's so crazy.
Sounds like you're saying it's bad.
No, I'm saying hear me out. What I'm saying is that it's crazy to take it into modern context. Because like with modern context, that sounds like such a skeezy corporate bullshit thing to do. It's crazy how modern movies now have taken what this movie did well and made it such a gross corporate thing. So now when I watch this movie, all I can think is like, ew, it's a Santa Claus origin story.
Yeah, because I would say, again, if you're thinking context of when it released, like I feel like there wasn't an agenda. When we're talking about Disney, there's always clearly an agenda.
Well, they want to make money.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I wanted to get this out of the way first because again, I have such a nostalgia with this movie and I love it. But I guess just like when I was watching it, I was surprised that there wasn't more to it. Like even more conflict. Like every conflict is resolved within 5 seconds. And like it's a kid's movie.
Not
and that's
necessarily.
A little bit. I mean, like...
Okay, because I'll say this. The main villain... Burgermeister Meisterburger, which is a great name.
Yes.
Like, Santa Claus does the whole, oh, I'll give you a toy and that'll make you happy. And he's like, no. And then, spoilers, because we always start with the end, he has to die out, as well as that family lineage, before there's any change and Santa is no longer an outlaw. So, like, it's not like, oh, well, it got wrapped up in a nice bow and Santa fixed it by giving him a toy, too, like he did with Old Man Winter. It was like, no, they were, like, tyrannical, and it wasn't until they died out that the people were able to rise up and say, hey, this isn't right. Like, I was actually shocked by that.
You know what? I that's true. And I will say maybe I just felt like the movie didn't convey well enough of, like, how serious the stakes are at the beginning, because the first half an hour almost feels like its own movie because it has these weird like things all tie themselves up like very quickly, but then as the movie goes on it's like, oh no, it's more about how he's going to become Santa Claus, how Burgermeister needs to stop what he's doing, because like I said, in those first scenes it's like it's established that Burgermeister says no more toys, you know, and and not even just that, but you're also established that the wizard, the winter wizard.
Yeah.
Wizard Winter?
I keep saying Old Man Winter, but that's not, he was a warlock.
What the fuck was his name? I just watched it.
Okay, so I mean, maybe I was right because Winter Warlock is the name on IMDb for him.
Okay, yeah. So that's established that he's very evil, and that will be like a big threat. He shows up, he gives it a toy, and then it becomes an ally immediately. Like, I don't know. It sounds silly to nitpick this movie, and I think again that's why it's hard to nitpick this movie, because it's inherently silly to nitpick this movie.
I think that the ally situation with him did happen quicker than even I was like, oh, that was a pretty 180. But
Yeah.
I will say, I think they established that Meisterburger is the big bad guy.
Yeah.
And not
The main
old
villain.
man. I'm going to keep calling him Old Man Winter.
I mean, the movie's only 50 minutes long with like 10 minutes of credits. So
Also true, yeah.
It's like with modern budgets, you could have given this like an hour and a half and had more of a drawn out thing, because well, obviously, like, I had nitpicks. I didn't take any notes, but I was taking a lot of mental notes. And
I did have some nitpicks. I will say there are some things where I was like, all right, okay. So one of the other things that I like is, so Meisterburger early on slips on a toy and he fractures his foot. We'll say there's an injury to his foot. He has a cast on his foot later on, but the doctor comes and checks on him, and the doctor always for some reason has like a red tip at their nose, like it's always like kind of red. I don't know if it's because they're out in the cold or what, but I've noticed that in like older movies. But he takes his temperature and says, just as I thought, or it looks like whatever. Then he goes, "You've broken your funny bone." And I was like, wait, the funny bone is the elbow, and how did you get that from a thermometer reading? And you don't get a fever from a bone injury.
Yeah. The what is it? Yeah, that was pretty funny. I did.
And he also says, like, as I suspected, toys. Like he's like, they have an agenda against me.
Yeah, it's very like targeted against him.
Oh,
yeah,
also,
no, I like that.
Your boy definitely was crushing on Miss Jessica as a kid.
Yeah, she was a little too busty.
She was built different.
Yeah, that she shouldn't have been that, but she's another problem with this movie. Okay, I'm telling you, there's problems.
She's the solution.
No, there's problems with this movie, man. You know what? I don't like this movie. I'm just gonna say it on record. I think Santa Claus is Coming to Town is the worst Christmas movie. No, okay. The scene when Kris Kringle comes to town and brings the toys for the first time.
Okay.
And the
Should
price
we explain
the price for toys. The price for toys is kisses, Mitchell. What the fuck?
I actually wrote this down. I did write this down. I was like, I don't remember a kiss a toy being the requirement. I feel like that's definitely some like 1970s shit.
I don't like it. There's children crawling all over him. They're kissing him, and he keeps telling them like, "Well, you better be ready to pay the fucking price." And like, no.
Okay, yeah, that is one thing where I was like, that did not age well.
There was a line of lyrics because it was almost a joke at first, because when they were all sitting on his lap, I was like, I don't like this, like joking, and then And then he was like, "When you sit on my lap and get a toy." I was like, "Oh no, I don't like this even more." And then he's like, "The price is to kiss." And I was like, "No." And then he's like, "And you whisper in my ear what you really want." And I was like, "Oh no!" Like I was
that one kind
of
ruined it for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
The kiss for a toy, and it wasn't like it was on the lips, but it didn't change that a stranger came into the city.
He
and
didn't
he's
say it
offering
wasn't on
toys
the
to
lips.
children. They at least didn't show it, but it was unsettling to say the least. Now, I do like one of the things they kind of establish is the reason he is so agile and can get around so quickly is he was kind of raised with animals around. So like he learned his ho from, what was it, like seals?
I hated that.
That was the fastest you've agreed and then disagreed with me, I think, on record. I like that. I hated that. And so he goes to the city because what happens is that Kringle family, and again, I kind of like this backstory. They're small people. They're the elves. They are toy makers, and they make toys for the king.
Okay, well, no, they did, and now they make toys for no one, which
now they just make toys, and nobody gets to play with the toys, and they're sad. And I'm like, where are you guys getting the production? Where are you getting stuff to produce? So he decides, oh, I'll go ahead and I'll take the toys to the nearby city, which is what it was like, Somber Town, I think it was called.
Yeah, which is funny. That's a self-referential name because they're all fucking like depressed and
yeah. And so they're like, oh, okay, awesome. And then they're all in the Santa Claus attire, right? The red suit with the white trim on it. And so they give him a suit and they're like, okay, this will be your outfit, as that's how he got his suit. And so he goes off. I also like that they made him a ginger. I thought that was very interesting. I can say that because I married one. So
Okay, Thomas Jefferson. He said the N-word once or twice. Okay, I don't know.
Okay, probably. So he goes to the city and he's giving out the toys, and all the kids are like, oh no, I thought it was funny that he goes into the city and a lady is like, you would dress like that? Because at first I thought she was mad about like him bringing toys into the city, but she was actually like offended by how he dressed.
Yeah.
Just the outfit. And as soon as he mentioned, how dare he? As soon as he mentioned the toys, that's when all the people run, because since Meister Burger fell on a toy, they've been outlawed. It is illegal. It is immoral. It is like 3 or 4 different other adjectives as to why that you shouldn't have that, and you will be imprisoned and thrown in the dungeon. And so these kids, they're out there washing their stockings, foreshadowing Petrovsky's gun, as we might have foretold.
McConaughey's gun.
Matthew McConaughey's gun. And that's when he goes into his song about, oh, well, you better not pout. You better not cry. Why? I'm telling you why. They pretty much use the lyrics as that conversation in terms of... Oh. Yeah, I know you probably didn't catch that in your watch of this movie. Oh my god! It's all coming together, and that's when we go into the kind of creepy song about the kiss is a prize for a boy.
Yeah, that was weird. It's weird.
He starts giving out the toys, and that's when Burgermeister. And there's always something funny that I think when, and it always happens in movies. It's movie logic, right? Where Meister Burger is being rolled down the street, and he's like, "Oh, what a beautiful day!" Everybody is sad or whatever he's commenting on. Kids are all playing with toys, and it takes him like a good few minutes to be like, "Yeah." And toys. It's like everyone around you is playing with a toy right now, and you just noticed.
I love that. That's funny. You're wrong. That's hilarious. No, I'm just kidding.
That's where you're like, that is actually, if you look up the definition of cinema, I'm pretty sure Quentin Tarantino would agree with me on this.
No, I think that's pretty obvious. No, I did. No, I'm just kidding. No, I did think that was funny though. I do like that. I'm a sucker for that kind of joke. Is when something is obvious but the person doesn't realize it. Will always land with me. I think like I'm
so shocked on our conversation so far that you're like, I love that part.
I know. Well, it's like I'm a simple man in certain ways, but I'm a nuanced man in 90 other % ways. No, this is a dumb comparison, but in the iCarly show, when her brother comes up on the elevator and he has an ostrich next to him and he's just drinking a smoothie and she's like, "What is that?" He's like, "Smoothie." Like that shit makes me laugh. So, and that's like the definition of that joke. It's just someone unaware where it's like, "Oh, kids playing with toys." Kids playing with toys. Like, yeah, it got me. I don't hate this movie. I like it. I do. I like this movie.
You had a weird relationship with this movie so far.
I do.
That's all
I do.
I'm saying. You guys need counseling.
I do, because I think that like it deserves better. I feel like
1970s claymation film for children deserved. Oh,
yeah.
Fuck, I wish I knew like famous movie writers.
It deserved Kaufman's right. No, it deserved. I bet that this was cut down for television.
It deserved Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Damn it!
That's a name I know. He's not a movie guy. He's a Broadway guy.
Yeah, but he did deserved it. No, I tried to go into this movie like any other movie we do. That's why like in a turn it's kind of funny because like whenever I try to like dissect this movie, I just find myself being like, what am I doing? You know? Because again, even in that, the Burgermeister, he bans all toys, right?
Burgermeister Meisterburger.
I'm sorry, yes. Burgermeister Meisterburger.
Thank you.
He bans all toys. And God damn it. This is going to sound so fucking dumb. You don't see the downfall. You don't see the why that's a problem. You know, because hear me out. Like he says that they're illegal, right? And then it just cuts to Santa Claus, Kringle, coming to town and giving the kids toys. And they're like, oh, toys are illegal. We can't have toys. Like, all I'm saying is that if there was just one scene, one 5-second scene of the kids like kicking stones and being sad and being like, there's no toys. We can't have toys. Like, that's never established. It's just that the Burgermeister Meisterburger bans toys. I said its whole name. He bans the toys, and then it's just he brings toys. Like there's no like.
Well, they're washing their stockings and saying like we can't have fun. We have to wash our stockings, and because he's like,
isn't that after the first time he brings the toys?
No, that's because he when he first approaches. Because I have it in my notes.
But it's while he's approaching, right?
Yeah, so as he's walking into the city, he's there with the bag of toys, holding it, and he sees the two kids because it's after all the adults run into the house.
But that's what I mean. It should have been before he ever shows up. There should have been like this is so dumb. I get it. It's so dumb. But I'm saying like just a little scene where it's like showing the city struggle because of the lack of toys. Because like all you're supposed to assume is that when he shows up, they're already struggling. But because that's so dumb. It's because is the city already in turmoil, or is it in turmoil because it doesn't have toys? Do you know what I mean? Like it's because they already look sad. They're already fucking sad and in somber town. So it's like, are they somber because of the toys, or are they somber because they're already a somber town? That's the thing.
Is, I think the kids are now sad because of the toys. I think the adults are just sad that they live under clearly a tyrannical ruler who's willing to make a decision like no more toys for children.
Bro, if you're able to get that out of this movie, then I don't feel crazy for thinking as much as it into his. If you're bringing in tyrannical governments with adults, like, see, then I don't feel crazy for being like, then why didn't they establish that the kids are happy? Like, they should have made it clear that the kids were happy before the toys were banned. Oh my God. This is so dumb. I get, and also, I want to make this clear before, if anybody watches this or listens and people are like commenting like, what the fuck are you doing? I get that when it comes to a claymation, it's making a 5-minute scene that clears that up takes 5 weeks. You know, like it's not as simple as like, oh, just add a little. I get that. I do. I understand. That's not really what I'm arguing. I'm not arguing it as if like, oh, well, they should have.
They had the time and budget.
But they didn't. Like, that's not really.
It would add to this story.
Yeah, it's what makes a modern story good. It's almost like what we've learned throughout storytelling in history. Is it's like that's what makes a slightly better story. I guess is what I'm trying to get to.
So Burgermeister sees the kids are playing with the toys. They're mad at him for giving out the toys. They try to chase him. He leaves. And then, okay, so this creates a really funny scene that has an instance that it doesn't ever happen again in the movie. And it was very confusing to me. So as he's running away, he gets out of the city. Okay, so he also runs in. This is where we meet Jessica, Miss Jessica. I think she's a teacher, is my assumption, just because they call her Miss. But he gives her a dolly, and she really seems connected by it. And at first she agrees, why are you doing the toys? And she goes, oh, maybe it is a silly rule. Anyways, foreshadowing that, there's something special there. So then he runs off. He gets caught by a tree. While he's caught by a tree, it fades to black like they're going into a commercial break.
Oh, that happened multiple times. You didn't have that version? Did you watch it on Amazon?
Yeah, I did. I rented it on Amazon.
No,
maybe I just didn't notice it as much.
I'm 99.999% sure that this was made for television.
So I think this was like in the theaters, this was the hit movie.
No, it was made to have commercials interject into it. Yeah, multiple times while I was watching it, it would fade to black and then fade back in. Even in times where it was a little bit awkward, I noticed. I forgot to take a note when it happened, but it was early on where I think it was with the Winter Warlock. He says something and then it fades to black and then it fades back in and he basically says the same exact thing again to like remind the audience. Like,
after that commercial
even though we just did a commercial, I'm still here, and I still, and
I still have my agenda.
Yeah, that did happen. So that's a factor, of course. It was made for television.
And then we get introduced to the reason for the stalking. So as it kind of happens, Chris knows that he's not supposed to be in the city. He's like, I don't really care. I'm gonna bring the joy and toys to the kids and get all my kisses. Get the kisses. And so as he continues, he's like, okay, let the kids know to unlock their doors at night.
That's the other part. I'm sorry, real quick, before the stalking thing, that was the part that I was like, ugh. Just the way he tells her, like, make sure you tell the kids to keep their doors unlocked tonight. I was like, oh, no, don't unlock those doors. But yeah, so go ahead.
So then Burgermeister Meisterburger and his gang of cronies realize this, so now they're saying, okay, everybody has to lock their doors, and then he has to devise another plan. It's actually funny because he goes into the city with homie Tomper, his penguin friend,
Topper,
who's looking for the South Pole, and he's stuck in the North Pole because science. And he's talking to Topper, and Topper's making noises. And he goes, "How do we get into the house?" He goes, "Is it the sky, the moon, the stars, the chimney?" Oh, of course. I don't know why. I thought that was really funny. And so
hated it.
That's why
stupid. No, I'm just kidding.
And so that's why Santa goes down the chimney. And because they were checking in the houses to see if there were any toys there every night, he was saying, oh, make sure the stockings are hung up and I can put them in the stockings. So again, adding credence to the lore. You're welcome, Matt Pat.
Yeah.
And eventually, homeboy gets caught slipping. And they're clever because they realize they got to take his homie in order for them to take it. Because he quickly goes like, no, you'll never take me. And then he sees a Topper out there getting arrested. He goes, all right, take me in. and then
falls for a homie.
And for like no reason at all. I don't know if the implication was because he wasn't a nasty old warlock, he lost his powers. But Old Man Winter, who's now like his friend and homie, he is now has no powers. So he doesn't have any magical powers.
Oh no, he has one power. He has one power, Mitchell.
After he loses his power?
Yep, he's got one. Making reindeer fly.
That's not a power. He had magical food to give to reindeers that gave them power. That's an entirely different stuff.
Excuse me.
Now here's the interesting part. Oh, and prior to that, they also introduced that he can create a crystal ball with snow, and
That
that's
was
how
funny.
Santa.
That was
Yeah, that
funny.
was funny. And again, that was to kind of explain how Santa knows when you're sleeping and knows when you're awake. Again,
Yeah.
a little bit weird, but that was creating the story there. Now, the part that I was like, nah, you guys, I'm really confused right now. Because as they showed the scene where he's telling Jessica, because Jessica realizes that all of the Kringles got arrested, Old Man Winter got arrested, Santa's arrested, Hopper's arrested, that she goes, reindeer food? I know how to get you guys out of prison. So she gives it to the reindeer. They come in to the prison and fly them out. But Old Man Winter established that they were in a prison cell. So I don't know if they had like a courtyard that they were just roaming freely in, or if the reindeer also had the power to kick down brick walls, but they really don't explain how the reindeer bust them out of prison.
No, they don't. The reindeer
That was
are the
one part I was
loosest.
really confused.
The
Thread
big
in the whole thing.
Yeah, the biggest plot hole of this whole movie are the reindeer. they literally, I can imagine the people writing at the table just being like, how do we explain the fucking
Who's
reindeer?
got the reindeer?
Fucking reindeer. I don't know, man. But it's like the eagles in Mordor in Lord of the Rings. It's like, oh fuck, that ruins everything.
Yeah, they forgot about that at the end, so they just have to kind of like, that was the one thing where I felt was really shoehorned. I was like, the reindeer,
Yeah, like I said,
pass through walls with Danny
yeah.
Phantom.
Like I said, I was kind of joking about the earlier stuff, but I did think it was weird how he's just kind of like, well, I got this shit that can make animals fly. Like that felt weird. I was just like, really? Like that's your explanation for why reindeers can fly? Is he was just like, I got some shit. Like, I don't know. That was funny though. It still made me laugh. So
Yeah, so then they escape, and then there's a wanted poster for Kris Kringle, and he's like, they'll never be able to recognize me now. And he turns around, and the only redhead we really see in the entire movie, other than Miss Jessica, only has a beard difference. Same colored eyes, same haircut.
It's the equivalent of me having this right now. Like it's
and
like
you being like, who is that new guy?
They'll never catch me now.
I was a little bit confused on how he thought that was clever. And then the other big thing is when he is first introduced in the movie, he's an orphan that Meisterburger is asked to take in. Burgermeister is like, I don't take care of kids. Take him to the orphan asylum. And that's when the winter, that's actually what they called it.
Yeah, I know. I was like, Jesus Christ.
The winter wind takes him to the Kringles instead. And he had a little necklace on that said the name Claus. And they're like, this is your name. Yeah. It's actually Claus. You should go by this name now so nobody recognizes you. As if having a different name would change that you're the guy that's going into people's... Like, so again... But then the narrator goes on like, yeah, he was a really good guy. And then the girl is like, because the entire time there's a narration where the narrator's speaking to like kids and they're asking him questions about the story and he's explaining it. But a girl goes, so after the narrator goes like, oh yeah, he was a really great guy. The girl goes, is that why they call him Santa? And he's like, yup, that's why. And I was like, that doesn't explain shit.
No.
Like, unless like Santa is supposed to explain the direct translation to like being a saint. But I'm like, I think that's a really loose way of like, if he would have said he was as good as a saint. Oh, is that why they call him Santa? Okay.
That makes way more sense. Yeah, that did throw me off too. Again, I was just kind of like...
I was like, where did that come from?
The tossed in origin story. I'm like, this is a lazy origin story for Santa Claus. So dumb.
Yeah.
But like, okay, I'm going to argue something here. Why is an origin story for Santa Claus so much more dumb to nitpick than an origin story for Superman? You know what I mean? Like, why am I not allowed to nitpick a story for Santa Claus if people nitpick origin stories for, like, Batman? and like shit. Like, do you know what I mean? Why?
Because Batman and Superman comics,
Mm-hmm.
while they have been adopted for children,
Sure.
there's a lot of the versions for them that are for adults. This might have been our most divisive, like where we're on very opposite ends of the sides of a movie
I
so
love
far.
that. That's the best thing in the world, though. Could you imagine a better movie for us to be like on opposite ends of the spectrum?
I was expecting this was going to be a lighthearted. Yeah, it was good. It's a Christmas movie. I did not expect that I was actually having to defend this movie in different aspects on multiple accounts.
Listen. It didn't do its job, all right? Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer did its job, all right? Fucking Year Without a Santa Claus did its job.
Did you
Santa
love
Claus
this movie as a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
No,
did.
I did.
It did its job.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But I'm going to judge it the same way I would judge a child's movie that was released when we were children. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's fair. Because there's some movies that I loved then that I think are bad now. Like, have you ever seen Clock Stoppers?
Oh my god, yes, I did as a kid, and I remember it being such a cool, interesting movie.
We need to watch that now. Okay, we need to watch that now because that's a little bit.
I'm sure that does not hold up.
No. And I think, listen, I think people got some Christmas goggles. I think Christmas goggles are a thing. I think that anything
Look
that
at the music we were just looking at.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That anything that involves Christmas has something that's like, you need to revere it. And if you don't, you're an asshole. And it's like, no, it's okay.
It becomes tradition.
Yeah. And it's like, it's okay to be like, no, maybe it's not that good. Like Christmas with the Cranks is a bad movie, but everyone's okay with saying that. Tim Allen, he was good as Santa Claus, but Christmas with the Cranks? By the way, your next movie suggestion is Christmas with the Cranks.
I've seen it.
All right. Do you? Are we getting into our final ratings for this?
Yeah, because after they got out of prison, that's when we had kind of talked.
Everyone's seen this movie. We don't have to go through the plot of this movie.
I'm just saying where they end it with like the
okay.
Meisterburger family has to die out for the laws to get changed and to Santa no longer be considered an outlaw. I was shocked. I was actually shocked that they're like, yeah, he was an outlaw pretty much the entire time that family had reigned and had control. I thought for sure there was going to be some resolution of, oh, well, after seeing how happy all the kids were, or he got another president and realized he was, nope, that family had to die out. And then they overthrew.
That was a weirdly realistic, like, political angle that it's
very, very surprised by that. But yeah, other than that, the movie wraps up. That's Santa Claus. That's his story. And he flies off into the night. So bitch.
Yeah, man. All right, so what do you give this? What do you give this classic masterpiece of a claymation film?
All right, so upon the second watch, well, I guess not my second
Your
watch.
second watch?
My, like 50-second watch, whatever. And again, the kind of parts where I was like, oh, kiss the toy is not an okay thing. The weird fucking reindeer prison break.
Oh, wait, okay, I'm sorry. Real quick. Maybe we'll cut all this out. I don't know. But I want to talk about one more thing that I need your opinion of.
Yes.
I don't like the Jessica character's arc.
Oh, well, the arc or her song? Because I felt her song was like the one song that did not seem to fit in the movie.
It's an awful song. And the background, when it becomes like a trippy 70s film?
I even remember as a kid being like, is this what drugs feel like? Like, what is happening?
Dude, it was like added last minute or something. Like, they didn't have the animation budget. But her arc, I felt like it's one of those tropes of those early movies where she didn't exist until a man showed up in her life. You know what I mean? Where it's like, she literally sings, I didn't feel happy until today or something, or I didn't live until today. And it feels like, if it was made more clear that the happiness was drawn from her realizing like, oh, life is about joy and life is about fun, that would make more sense.
With others. Okay.
But it's more focused on her like loving him. And it feels like one of those trophy wife kind of cliches where it's like, oh, she didn't, no happiness until she met him. And that's
Okay,
what,
yeah.
she's like 35, 40 years old. She should be fine with her life. She's been depressed this whole time until he showed up.
Okay.
That's
See, I
something
thought you were
don't
gonna get
like.
mad. Like, I don't see why they had to have her, and I'm like, well, Mrs.
No,
Claus.
no. Of
But I
course.
agree. I agree that, especially with that story, I was like this, like the song, which I loved how they do like the not paradox or parody, but they
Parallel.
do like the parallels between the Kringles singing about being the toy makers to the king, and then Meister Burgers, like opposite of like there'll be no toy.
And it's the
Like,
same melody, but it's a different. I do
yeah.
like that. I
So
like that.
so I like that, but yeah, Jessica's song was the only one where I was like even they'll put one step in front of the other about like trying to teach Old Man Winter, hey, sometimes it's just
Yeah.
about taking that first step. I was like, all right, I get that. But then Jessica's song, and she's like doing pirouettes, and then there's like an acid trip background, and I was confused. I think even as a kid, I was like, if we want to fast forward through this, I'm not. It's not doing anything for me.
It's an old white man who doesn't know how to write a female song. That's all that is. Like I guarantee,
That
100%.
is, I'm definitely heavily getting those
Yeah,
vibes.
it's because again, like I said, they just made her a busty character who ends up with the main guy, which she fine. Don't get me wrong. I literally said to Audrey, I was like, oh, she fine. Like, I hate that they made her so fine, but they did. And that's all she's really there for, is to just be.
Probably why I married a redhead.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, this all makes sense now. But yeah, it was just funny thinking like, wow, she's really like the embodiment of a trophy woman
Yep.
in these movies of like, oh, she didn't exist until the male character showed up.
Oh,
But
because
no.
when she lets her hair down, I was like, oh shit.
Again, and that's such a trope of like, oh, the woman didn't know who she was until she let her hair down. It's like, even though it's a thing that we grew up with that seems poignant, upon reflection, it's kind of like, well, wasn't she her own person this whole time? Was it just men making her feel this way this whole time? That's awful. Like, that's terrible. Like, it's, but yeah, okay. So we were getting into our final thoughts. I'm sorry. You
Yeah.
were saying.
All right. So my final rating for this movie is a 7. It's a holiday classic.
Wow, that's lower than I thought.
Well, it was gonna be between 8 and 9. Because again, Year Without a Santa Claus, I think I gave it a 10. If not, I knew that was my all-time favorite Christmas movie, so I knew it had to be above this movie. But again, the toy kissing thing was really weird. The prison break reindeer was not explained at all. And so I was like, all right, there's a few things where they might have been able to explain a little bit better. So I was like, it's still on the positive end of like a holiday movie that I'll rewatch. But yeah, 7 is where I will fall. A solid 7. I'm not going to say a strong, but I'll say a really solid 7. I
That's
don't know
fair.
what the difference is.
Yeah, right. No, there's a difference though. In your heart of hearts, there's a difference. Yeah, no, I love this movie as a Christmas classic. It always is on my TV.
You finished by giving
when
it
Christmas
a 10
comes
out of 10.
around. Right, it's a 10 out of 10, baby. No, but it's upon rewatching it and really sitting down and watching it, because that's what this podcast makes me do. And it's interesting because I don't, with movies nowadays, especially these kind of movies, you don't really sit down and watch it. It's more of a movie you throw on. It's Christmas. Throw
Family's
on.
talking, you're having dinner, it's kind of in the
You're
background.
wrapping presents. Yeah, you throw it on. It's a throw on movie. So actually sitting down and watching it, I was like, whoa, there's things in this that don't make sense, and things in this that I'm actually like critiquing. But like, given the context of the time and the effort they had to put into it, you can't blame them. Like Fred Astaire's his performance is amazing. And their animation of him dancing as the character, great. It's amazing. And so much effort went into that. But again, I felt like the story was like last on their list, which is totally fine. That was probably their intention. In the sense of their intention, I doubt that they were like, we want to tell an amazing story about the origin of Santa Claus. Of course, that's not what they were trying to do. So I get that. 6 out of 10 is my rating.
I was higher. I thought you were going to go 4 out of 10 for sure. Number. So there you go, folks.
You always doubt me. I told you, man. What did I say in the last episode?
I will never be able to guess your score at the end. I will never be able to guess it. And yeah, you're right. You did say you get super nuanced, and then at the end you're like,
listen, I'll tell you how I feel about any specific thing, but that doesn't tell you how I feel about the entire thing. The sum of its parts do not equal the whole, okay? I realize now that it's my turn to suggest a movie.
It is. Did you not have one prepared?
Yeah.
You didn't have one prepared.
Yeah, no, totally. Oh, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our final movie for Jim Sember. I do have it on my list, and I wasn't sure if you had seen it or not, because
What is the rule? If you ask me I've seen something on a podcast, I have not seen that movie.
That's very fair. Yeah, chances are you have not seen that movie. There's a chance you may have seen this when you were younger. Maybe. It's such a classic. Like, it's such a household name, The Truman Show.
I know I've heard that name, and I think because I know Jim Carrey's in it, and because I know I've heard that name, that's how I know I haven't seen it.
Okay. All right. So in that case, next week, we're going to be reviewing The Truman Show. So make sure to join us.
It's funny, because we're true men on a show.
And hold on. We're men who are true, who show off our penises.
Like true men.
Please join that Neon Valley podcast. What? No. Join the Reddit.
I just realized what you said.
Come on the show.
Neon Valley
come
podcast.
on and join the Neon Valley podcast. Everybody come on the show.
So we could show our penises properly.
To
like
the
refined
public.
Gentlemen.
Yes, exactly. Just like Santa Claus. Kiss us for a toy. And
follow us on our only Patreons.
Yeah, no, thank you guys so much for listening today. I know.
Happy holidays.
I'm sorry that you might hate me because of my opinion about a classic claymation movie from the 70s. I get that, but I love you all the same. And I hope you have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, a incredible Kwanzaa. Exactly. And a Happy New Year if you're listening to this a little bit later.
A Merry Christmas.
Joseph. Cut it. Joseph. Cut that shit out. Joseph.
Cut
that shit out.
Joseph.
Cut it out.
Joseph.
No.
Joseph.